So throughout the next 13 years, I worked in their food and beverage outlets, serving and bartending in their lounge, nightclub, show lounge, coffee shop, and restaurant. And then I moved into food and beverage outlet supervision. From there, banqueting and supervising the banquet staff, kitchen stewarding and prep and catering sales, front office, switchboard, front desk agent, and night audit. Night audit is hard. Your whole life changes because you're working that weird graveyard shift, but what an education. You learn a whole bunch about hotels and how they operate. Reservations agent. Actually, that was a hard one for me too, because you sit at a desk and people are constantly changing their minds about what they want. So it takes a special kind of person to be a really good reservations agent. Housekeeping, room attendant, and supervision. There again, another physically demanding job. Got to be very organized with that one. Maintenance supervision was interesting. Overseeing a group of men who were probably twice my age, who were actually very kind to me. They sort of adopted me and put up with my weird leadership style. Then I went into sales, and probably the 3 hardest years of my life was accounting. But if I look at my career and where I am today, the fact that I can read a P&L and I understand how accounts receivable and accounts payable is supposed to work, there's not a lot that my controller can do to fool me. So, and not at this stage that he would. But when you first get into a position and you're trying to understand the culture and what a hotel is all about, just having that basic technical knowledge is a beautiful thing to have. So I really urge you, don't be afraid to take whatever position you can get and make sure that you keep moving through your career that way. That also brings me to some tips for career success. So creating a map. You got to take your life and you got to think about, what do I really want and how am I going to get there? And it's really important to commit it to paper. And the reason for that is, if you don't commit to it, it's a wish, it's a dream, but it's not a goal. A goal is something real and almost tangible that you go after. So really being serious about it and making that commitment to paper is critical. Remember, it's a living document. The map that I created 30 plus years ago is not the map I have today. It just keeps winding its way through where I need to go. So remember, it's a living document, and revisit and revise it. It's a really great tool to have. Like I said earlier, get in the games and get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid to be a steward in a kitchen or be a room attendant. It's a great education. You don't have to stay there forever, but you should experience it. Which leads me to, you get into that position you don't really like, but you know you have to do it. Make sure you stay there long enough to show you have commitment to do it. And so you have time to properly experience it, because many jobs, how they work or how they flow, really change based on what's happening in a hotel. So summer could be totally different than winter. And to understand both of those aspects is really critical if you're going to be good at what you do later. But then again, don't stay so long that you get stuck. There's some positions you can make a whole bunch of money. If you're a really good cocktail waitress, well, they call them servers now, you can make a whole lot of money. And it's really hard to get yourself out of that, to keep going. But that's why it's important to have that commitment to your goal. All right. So the Lissagars supported me. They were really good at supporting my education as well. And in fact, they were the ones that suggested I go back and get my diploma through the American Hotel and Motel Association. That was a 2-year program, and I couldn't have been more surprised when, after my graduation day, they handed me a check that covered all the expenses for that education. So did that build loyalty? Oh yeah, that explains the 13 years. Those people were like family to me, and I was very lucky to have them. But you know that old saying that all good things must come to an end? In a family-run organization, family members are not going to move aside so you can build your career. So I got to the rung on the Lissagar ladder where I had to make that tough decision, and I had to give my notice. And in honesty, on that day that I went in to see them, I was a wreck. I thought, oh, these people, they're going to hate me, they're going to be so disappointed. So imagine when I'm sitting there in Roy's office in front of Roy and Lori. Lori was his wife, excuse me, and I gave them my news. And they said to me, you know, we couldn't be happier for you. You've done so much for us. What you can do to make us really proud is go have a career that's a really successful one. They also promised me that if it didn't work out, they'd always have a place for me in their organization. It was amazing. So to have that support in anybody's career, because even when I had left them, I could go back and ask them questions. They were always willing to give me advice. Just an incredible thing to have. So that leads me to thinking about mentors and mentoring. Because for me, my mentors have been integral in my success. Without them, I would have been faced with some situations where I wouldn't have known where to go to get the answers. To have someone that you know you can trust, you know has the experience level that you need, and that really is on your side, that's an amazing thing to have and so helpful, particularly in how the marketplaces are these days with all the things that go on. Think of over the last 10 years with, what did we have? We had SARS, we had 911, all of those things that nobody's really ever faced before. To have people with experience that you can go to and say, hey, what would you do? And they will give you their advice. It really helps you feel less afraid of what you have to face. And it also really helps you to move forward and make clear, logical decisions. So that, be open to having a mentor. And don't be too afraid or shy to ask someone that you admire to be your mentor. They're honored to do it. It's a really good feeling if you have someone come to you and say, you know what, I really respect what you do, would you help me? So don't be too shy or embarrassed. Nobody knows everything. And honestly, if you're a mentor to somebody, you often get a lot back from them as well. Because there's new ideas, there's new thoughts, there's new perspectives. So it becomes kind of a symbiotic relationship. It's a very cool thing. And if you think about mentors, how would you judge if you've got a good one? In my mind, a mentor is someone who lets you go. They let you go make mistakes. They're there to support you, though, if they see that you're starting to go in a really bad direction. So they have the ability to say, hey, you got to follow your instincts, but they have the expertise to know if your instincts are going to sink you. So that's another reason why it's so great to have a really good mentor. Critical errors. That's what one of my mentors called one of my little incidents. Critical error. And if you learn from the best, then one day you're going to have the opportunity to pay it forward because you'll be mentoring other people. Like I said, that's extremely rewarding. So, back to my story. After leaving Century Plaza, my career was growing rapidly. I learned more and more about hotels and their operations and how each one of them can vary depending on what company you're working with or what type of hotel it is. And I grew into senior management positions with a bunch of different hotel companies. I'm sure you're going to recognize some of these. That was an interesting experience because that was the hotel I'm at now many years ago. So I kind of came back. I'm haunting them. Pacific Palisades, when I was there, it didn't have its new look on, and it just actually closed. April 30th was the last day for the Pacific Palisades. So that was kind of an end of an era in Vancouver. Intercontinental Hotels, another good company, a lot of good information from them. And the Empire is a hotel company out of China. So they actually bought